Tom Lavecchia here with a special and rare live edition of the Armchair NBA. This is in association with Mobsters Inc., also streaming on Twitter as well. Today, I'm going to have a special guest on today, and we're going to discuss are the content creators that are currently out there, are they going too far today on the Armchair NBA? Hey everyone, before we begin, I just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, JSB Capital, Loans Without the Broken Bones. So he has a new program called the Mentorship Program that he relaunched. It's an online course, substantial discount for those that are Armchair MBA viewers. You can become a loan consultant. You can sell mortgages, not residential mortgages, but you can send commercial mortgages or residential mortgages if they are a entrepreneur. It's a different type of vehicle that doesn't require certification. You can do business loans, merchant cash advance, SBA loans, and the like. JSV Capital, if you're looking to make some extra money or have a career redirect, shout out to JSV. I'm going to put a link below. Check it out. And we're really happy to partner with Jason and his team. So without further ado, I'm going to have Frank Fiordolino come in, back on the show, back on the Armchair MBA. Frank, welcome to the Armchair MBA. How you doing today, man?
Hey, good morning, Tom. How's everybody? How you doing? Good?
Doing well, doing well. So Frank,
Real early out here. What time is it? By you 9?
Yeah, I know you're on a different time zone. I appreciate yes, Frank.
Hey, no problem. No problem. Anytime.
Grazie. How are you, Chow? So I appreciate you coming on very early, again, different time zone. So I appreciate that. With that being said, though, is I wanted to do a quick episode with you, kind of go over a few things. Most of which being is content creators appear to be taking things very, very far these days, possibly a lot farther than they have in the past. Frank has been on the show. He was a former associate of the Bonanno family, originally from Sicily, came to the U.S. And why don't you kind of lay a little groundwork for us?
I've been hearing a lot of stuff about people I knew at one time. Me personally, I haven't been active in that life. I'm close to 21 years, so I really don't know what's going on. But with that said, when I was around in the 90s up to the early 2000s, I couldn't for the life of me understand how some of these content creators in the mob genre know what they know. I just think that it's a lot of fabricated stuff. It's a lot of I don't know. It's very WWE-ish, if you will.
Okay.
And I just don't. I can't believe that these people are coming out. It's dangerous. It's a dangerous game when you're putting people in a position where you want them to go at each other. So one day you could write a book about what's going on. It's not. And I'm going after one guy in particular. I've been listening to his stuff. I'm not going after him. I'm just saying, dude, I don't know if you got that right. Not that I know what's going, because like I said, I don't. But your information, who you saying you're getting it from? The government? Because I'll tell you one thing, the government don't give information. They take it.
Yeah.
They take it from somebody that unfortunately been in that situation, It's just I listen about it. I kind of worry at times because there's a lot of people that at one time I knew that probably want me dead. Who the fuck knows? Oh, just think if I died, they wouldn't give a fuck. That's fine. But I care about people because I think a lot of this is unnecessary. You know what I mean?
Well, what makes it dangerous, Frank? Specifically.
Well, when you're putting somebody somewhere and saying he needs to come up with some money, and if you don't come up with money, you're kind of putting that narrative out, and I think it's false anyway, that he's making them out to be a fucking a pussy, if you will. Okay, if you don't come up with that. I don't know. Obviously I know one part of the part. I don't know the guy. I'll say it straight out, and I just hate talking about active people. The guy Mike, I don't know him. I never met him.
Yeah.
But just to put that out, it's putting people in bad places. You're somewhere in the Midwest, sitting home comfortable, and you want to get $1 on your Patreon by fucking putting this shit out while real people, and when I mean real people, I go, these people got families too.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And for you people who think the mob is dead, you're out of your mind. Because I know a lot of guys out there that'll still fucking knock your head off.
For much less. But I think what you're saying.
Yeah. No, I'm not talking about these people in general, but I'm saying there's people out there that just, if you they're not gonna take that shit. I think the freedom, the First Amendment, gives also the ability for some people to bullshit and get away with it.
That's a fair. Well, the First Amendment protects your right to speech with the government. Obviously, it's private enterprise.
Yeah, but some people use it as a tool to say whatever the fuck they want.
Well, let me ask you this, okay? So I want to make sure we don't.
So, in other words, you're not happy until somebody goes to jail, so you could write about that person, even if it's false.
Well, let me ask you this, and I want to make sure I unpack this correctly. What you're saying is, like, us creators are not in jeopardy, but us creators can put stuff out there that can maybe get people that are on the street jammed up or hurt. Is that what you're saying, Frank?
Yeah, for views or for whatever it is, what you want to do, popularity. Listen, I know mob prostitutes that know more shit about the mob than this guy. Okay.
Well, you're going pretty heavy, and I was conflicted as to
I don't want you to use your platform as putting this. I could have used any platform to do. We're friends. I get that, but I'm just saying.
Hey, who popped in the back? I can't have you on right now. We're doing a specific topic, so I don't want to say who it is, but I just can't.
Is this somebody I know?
No. Just I want to stick to the plan. So okay, so here's where I have a little bit of a challenge. The person that you're referring to is somebody that I hold in high regard, and that, to be candid, in kind of like the era of fake news, sometimes the big news outlets get it wrong, and like us creators that are smaller or mid-level kind of get it right. Give me kind of like your feeling on this particular person historically, and then what changed and why did it change?
I'm not gonna. I don't know him personally.
Well, can we share who we're talking about, or do you want to?
Yeah, the Bernstein guy.
Yeah, he's kind of.
Wasn't he the same guy that had that Swedish guy for 2 years and said he was who he was from Detroit? What was his name? Gunnar Goldblum or something?
Yeah. So
what do you got to say about that, Tom?
Yeah, I had Gunnar on the show. I obviously,
and he was who he was, right? He said who he was.
I had Gunnar on the show. You do run risk by having people on the show, but not fully vetting them. That comes with the territory, right? And then also I did give him more credence because of Scott Bernstein.
So we're gonna take this guy on face value anytime he says something that's going on in Brooklyn or Queens or Staten Island or the Bronx.
Okay, so no, well, so here's the thing. I don't think Scott has any compunction with, hey, he's a Midwest guy. He's like the Chicago.
I just hope whoever's active these days and whatever, don't listen to this guy. Let them stir him up. Let them enjoy their fucking life. It's making a lot more than it is. You're taking that one incident, that funeral thing, and then you're going with it and you're trying to make it more than it actually is. And you're trying to create a war. And let me guess, 2 years from now, you're going to write about what? The Bonanno War that you fucking potentially started?
So what you're saying is
I'm on to him. That's what I'm saying. I know what he's doing.
Well, let me ask you this. As a content,
he misses the mob. He misses the mob. He wants to get some the sensational. He sensationalizes everything, and that's what he's doing without even, with the consequences. There
Okay.
hasn't been an incident. Where does he get this? Okay, he has actually made guys that call him up and tell him that's bullshit. And if this guy's associates, they're probably the biggest washwomen there are because they're making shit up too. There's one guy like that guy in the button man, the fucking. He claims that he's a maiden guy. Do you believe that?
Yeah, there is allegedly a content provider.
I'm not into fucking doxing people and shit like that. I'm not that guy, but I would love to find out who this supposed maid guy is that writes blogs.
Well, I will say this. I will say this emphatically. Okay, so I can.
God, you guys fucked me up in the morning already. I can't believe it.
Well, I could speak from. How about this? I'll speak from personal experience, right? So I could say this. I've had people reach out, and then I had people reach out that were somewhat credible, right? But these were people that just wanted like to kind of get into the mix, wanted to be heard, maybe wanted to come on, maybe want to stir the pot. I had many times in the old show people call and correct things because out of ego, right? But no way in hell was maybe an associate, a low-level associate, but no way in hell anybody was an inducted member and reached out to me and said, hey, here's some information to use on your show. I just don't see that happening. And I'll give an example. I will say this. Okay. So I had somebody on the show. I think I mentioned this earlier. I had somebody on the show who's former law enforcement, right? And I was a little conflicted to do this show because it was about the Cavalcantes and it was about Elizabeth, New Jersey, where I grew up, essentially, right? Where my family came from Italy, right? So there's a lot of like stuff going on there. Long story short, I did the show. There was an alleged member who was very unhappy with how he was portrayed. No threats, no like sideways, but they called my retail business that I own. I'm not publicly owned on the business. I'm not attached to the business. You could probably Google and find things, but you just don't know I own it, right? Long story short, this person calls my sister and says, hey, I need to talk to Tom. It's very important. So she's like, so-and-so from Elizabeth needs to talk to you. It was his associate who wanted me to come in and talk to him, not in any threatening way, but to talk to him to clarify his end of the story. And so like there are guys that may want to clarify something, or that's just one story. But what I'm getting at, Frank, is
but you're talking about something to clarify, and you're talking about people going at it with each other.
They were not going to provide information. They were not going to provide information because what happened was
there's other guys too that were in the life. Like I'm not going to mention who either. Yeah. Let's just stray away from him for a minute.
Yeah.
That want to like start trouble between people they told on with other people just to start a fucking miniature war. And they put out false narratives.
But let me ask you this: to write a book, and I'm gonna push back on this a little bit.
Listen, my book
was 1 second.
If I wanted to write a book on bullshit, sure, I probably have 10 volumes. But just because I like to fucking tell the truth, I'll probably fill about 50 pages.
All right,
Does that sound okay? So I mean,
I'm not disagreeing with you, but I do want to push back a little bit, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay. So for a guy like Bernstein's level, right? So generally, if at his level, you're an author, right? And either they go to him and say, "Hey, we want you to write a book," and then they might give the topic, or he might pitch them a book to one of the big five, Simon Schuster, whoever. Hey, I want to write this book. He's notable. Great, write it. Maybe get some sort of advance. It's not big money these days, but some sort of advance, right? So long story short, it takes months, if not years, to go from concept to book, right? So if you're saying, I was trying to write a book or trying to, move the needle, I don't think that's the case because he would have to like go to somebody, hey, we're going to write a book about the Bonannos. I got something here. It's kind of real time and I'm going to get it done in 6 weeks. That's kind of not how book publishing works. So I'm going to agree with you.
Well, if he carries this out for 2-3 years and he's always on this on this beating the same fucking dead horse, he becomes an authority on that case, even though I think it's bullshit. So who's better to write about something that someone who's been writing it out for 3 years?
All right, let me ask you this.
Let me ask you that. How do you answer that?
Well, let me ask you this, Frank. Do you believe, and I'm going to ask you, it could be A or B. Do you think it's A, he is talking to somebody and getting bullshit information, or is it A, Mustache Pete, or is it B, he's not getting info and he's just making shit up, in your opinion?
A little bit of both. And I'll tell you why. Because this is the same guy that doesn't fact check. And you say, why? Because he had that guy around him for 2 freaking years. And he was writing his coattail. He was telling this guy's a toko and this guy's blah blah blah. And he didn't do his homework on that guy. So how's his credibility good?
Yeah, I mean, you know what it is? I tend to look at it a little differently than you.
Listen, you could do a million things right. I always said that you do that one thing wrong, everybody's going to remember you for that. So I don't think that's his case, by the way, but I get that. But he's always going to be known as the gunner guy.
Which I agree with in terms of you can have things that can crush your credibility. I'm in agreement with that. However, I also
he's throwing mud on both sides and not associating his name with it. He's saying he's getting people to tell him that this is going on. And it's gonna piss somebody off eventually, right? You might have. I know in the mob, there's guys that read these things. I remember that back in the day, like the pieces of the day back in the day, because like I said, I don't know no mob guys no more.
Yeah.
And they listen and they want. And they're like, oh, really? Is that what people think about me? There's some guys that get upset over shit like that, and that could start a problem.
Well, let me ask you this, and then I want to get into kind of the street level stuff. I look at it like total body of work, right? Meaning, okay, maybe black eye on the gunner thing, right? And he kind of did a little bit of about face. Maybe this is a little, so for example, when I heard his video on, he almost had one story from, I'm going to paraphrase, that Josie May got chased down, something might have got firebombed, something happened maybe at the motorcycle club. I may be wrong on that. I wanted to do a story on it, right? Now, I researched the crap out of Glen Cove and all this different stuff on public information so I could take what Scott said and then put it together with my research and then put together a binding show. I couldn't find anything at all. I called some law enforcement contacts that...
Of course you couldn't find anything at all because it probably didn't happen.
Well, but so here's the thing, though.
I don't know. I never been to Glen Cove, so I don't know.
Well, I mean, here's where I struggle with. And people drop some comments below on what you think. In terms of people that I trust in the space, it's down to one hand, one finger. And I trust a Capisi still, even though he kind of dogged me. I trust a Scott Bernstein. I super trust Dr. Buccellato, James Buccellato. So that's
James don't put his foot. Let me tell you something about James. James don't get involved in stuff unless he's pretty sure about it. It's just I've dealt with James. James knows what he's doing. He's a criminologist. He's an historian. He's a very good one at that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Bernstein is a bad one. He just should stick to his lane and talk about things he knows about.
Yeah, and again, I'm a fact-based person too, right? And I look at the total body of work. Like I said, I think Scott has a fantastic body of work. I think what Mafia Prince, Leonetti's book is I'm going to say arguably one of the best books ever written about the mob. So the guy's a real deal, right?
Right.
It's just that on this particular case, I can't back up. Like I'm not willing to. I'd be willing. I'm not gonna kind of double speak, but I'm gonna say how I feel. I'd be willing to die on the hill for Scott Bernstein's credibility, right? In general, but I wouldn't be willing to die on the hill on the banana story. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I believe him. Like it's kind of like the drunk Italian uncle. It's like he generally tells the truth. But one night he opens up a little bit and he's saying something like, Zio, you're full of shit. You know what I mean? So I think with this one, not that I distrust him, but I can say that I am a little leery about it. So let's talk about how specifically, and listen, you're coming on this as an analyst. You're not on the street. you're reformed, you're not committing any crimes. But as a guy that has a street mentality, how can this jam people up? Right? Meaning, Mikey hears about it. Oh, I got, give me how somebody can get hurt and how this can go wrong for somebody.
Well, I'll tell you, my 90s IQ was about 60, about 70, and my IQ now is a little bit better. I hope it is.
Yeah.
But back in the day, I would probably take that as an insult. Yeah.
So, yeah, but
so I got to walk around thinking that people think about me in a certain way just because somebody in Detroit is writing about me. Yeah, I would take that pretty hard.
So you think that somebody like the media may provoke a retaliation?
Yeah, 100%. What do you think? No?
I would think they're smarter than that. I'd like to think that.
Okay, how about the flunkies that are around some of these people?
Good point. Maybe they want to make a name for themselves.
Yeah.
What about?
Okay, that's another misconception too. I'm not saying the mob is very much alive, but a tough guy's still out there. Let's just put it that. Not even the mob. I'm not going to talk about the mob.
Yeah.
Are they still out there? Yeah, they're out there. Believe it. I knew them. You understand what I'm saying?
Correct.
Okay. You only take so. I'm tired of people saying it's not what it used to be. Well, find out yourself.
Well, I could say fairly confidently that there is probably about 800 inducted members in the New York tri-state area. There's probably on the low end about 5,000 associates, and that's on the absolute low end. I think that's direct associates, and probably north of 10,000 associates on the high end.
Right.
So it's far from dead. Number two, and I'm not going to get into which source, but doing the show, I have made a lot of contacts, and beatings, I'm not saying they're regularly done, but hospital visits are regular. I know of a story where a made man got smacked. They retaliated not once but twice. They didn't kill the guy, but they lumped him up twice. They're still throwing beatings. I mean, I don't care. I'm not at liberty to say. I'm not trying to talk like a tough guy. I'm just saying in my research with law enforcement and with contacts, they're throwing beatings pretty easily and not caring, because what kind of charge are you going to get from that? You know what I mean? Or it's an associate that does it that's really looking to make a name.
And I'm not condoning that, but it's definitely there's a possibility that can happen anytime.
Well, okay, let me ask you this, and then and I'm just going to refresh it quickly.
Yeah, I don't want to beat on the same horse. I said
about the funeral incident. Some wise guys went to a funeral. They got beat up.
I don't even want to talk about that, because first of all, I wasn't there. Okay. Yeah. Am I saddened by what happened? Of course I am. That was people that at one time are very dear to me. You understand?
Correct.
And I'm just gonna leave that shit at that. Okay.
No, but let me ask you. You are,
like I said before, they probably wish I fucking rotten hell. I don't know. Whatever.
Oh, no, trust me, you're probably not on any of their holiday card lists, and nor are we.
Exactly.
Nor are we.
But I don't want to really get into that because I don't know nothing about it.
No, I'm asking you as an analyst. Okay, we're kind of like
ESPN. Okay, fair enough.
Okay, so this incident happens, right? Let's walk through this. Let's say Mikey does nothing, right? And you're a rank and file associate, or inducted guy that you're just doing your life, doing your thing, 80% legal, 20% illegal. But you notice, okay, wow, our Brigada guys got beat up, and Mikey does nothing. How is that going to sit with a street guy, in your opinion?
Incidents like that, believe it or not, when they go away, is better for everybody. It's like one of those bar fights where two friends get involved. One guy, he was heated, he made a bad decision, and the other guys got the best of the deal, and that was it. Landed right there. The other ones are not in that life no more. Apparently, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. It goes away. Things like that go away. There's, because there's embarrassment on one end, and there's it just goes. Now if they go around the streets saying we got them good or whatever, I don't think that's the case in this case.
Yeah, but I remember.
You gotta remember, it's like a family. It's a mob family at that, but those are like families.
Okay, so I wanna talk this through, and this is a good conversation. Okay. So what you're saying is better off going away, go back to business, right? Which infers, I'm not saying you're saying this, which infers that shocker, that the mafia is about money, right? In Tommaso Buscetta's book, right? He
Forget
talks
about Tommaso Buscetta. I mean,
hold on,
listen.
I'm just saying I want to establish a baseline and some
Well,
context.
yeah,
He
go ahead.
said in his book, he goes, the reason I became a mafioso was not for the money can come. It's for when the guy who stands up straight in the room when they walk in, right? Meaning there's a certain amount of deference and respect, right? So if you say, I'll let it go, right? And I'm just gonna go
But
ahead.
letting it go is a respected act.
Yeah, but
This is not a street gang. This is not a this is not freaking urban warfare here. This is something that started long before that funeral even happened, or these guys got together. Don't you understand? They got a meeting. Don't you, honestly? This is speculation. This is not like I said. I don't talk to them. Don't you think other families got involved in after that happened?
They probably did.
But then nobody wants to hear that. People, you know what they want to hear? Oh, that's it. It's a war now. They are just gonna go shoot it out, Godfather 2 style. The Frank Pentangeli acting. That's what people want. But that, in all reality, that's not how fucking that shit works.
Okay, but so here's the thing, right? Let's just imagine there was there was actually for both. I think the Italian mafia. They found Greco's villa. They found the 10 Commandments of the mafia, right? Let's just say you translate it to the U.S., right? And you keep whittling it down to like, all right, well, we're not going to kill anybody. We're going to let things go. It's about making money, not headlines, and we do all these different things, right? I just think, in my opinion, and I look at it like the business end of things, right? You can't do anything if you're a mafioso if you don't have the respect of other street guys and other families, bikers, gangs, etc. Right? If it's just about money, you lose that respect. You might as well just be a business guy then. Like there's easier ways to make money, and I'm probably evidence of that, right? So there's easier ways. Why be a street guy or why be in the mob if you get a made member gets hit at a funeral and that person walks away unencumbered? I struggle with from the business end of things, not the moral end. The business
But
end.
that's the problem. That's the problem. You see what you're saying right now? That's what people are putting out, the narrative. Like, oh, it's their turn to do something now. They're pushing that fucking narrative. Where there's happened sometimes where people get involved and say, look, the embarrassment has come to its fucking toll. Stop. Just let's go on. Too much heat. People are waiting for us to kill each other. Don't you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no.
And
Again,
you're telling me, well, how would Mike feel if he sent 3 guys over there and didn't happen? Cool heads prevail.
well, we do have a quick question.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they had drinks over this already.
Question: what do you think about the Zips across from Maria Hernandez Park, aka Knickerbocker Park? How would those Zips have handled this situation? Because
Who
it's
said
Sicily,
that?
no-fly Ricans.
He's referring to my family. Well, how would they? How would they? They talk about it. They would talk about it.
Yeah, I mean,
Knickerbocker Park. That's what he's talking about. That's Maria Hernandez Park. That's across the street from the coffee shop where my brother owned. How would they react? They react just like anybody else. They listen. Shit happens. Shit happens.
they think you're in a bad mood today, and you got up on the wrong side of the bed. But no, it's not that he's in a bad mood. It's just that I think I sense from some frustration from Frank on the subject.
No, because I think that people make a lot of it when they don't know how certain things get dealt with in that life. I'm not saying that it's being dealt this way, but I'm definitely not thinking it's being dealt like some other people put out though. I mean, you just gotta just say, like, not you, but a lot of these people, they just can't wait to have somebody getting locked up. You know what I mean?
Well, how about this? I'm only going to fall back on what I know, which is the business end.
And thank you for fucking up my breakfast. No, I'm just
exactly. But hold on. But from the business end, right? The structure, right? Even Sammy in my interview says it was about the structure is what made it strong, right? As I understand, Joe C was shelved. Spirito Jr., as I understand, was shelved. And understood, but again, this is public information that was told to me, that both Grimaldis were shuffled. I'm just telling you what I was told. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just telling you what I was
And
told.
like I told you earlier, I don't know. I just don't. I'm not. I don't inquire in it on like that. But at the same time, how do these people come off and saying they know more than a lot of people that actually in New York City? You know what I mean?
So you think he's sensationalizing the story to get some clicks, get some views, and maybe position himself as an expert again?
Absolutely.
Okay. I mean, I personally,
And this is coming from the Coffee Boy show.
you served
So
coffee.
if I know more who hasn't been in the life for 20 years, he probably knows nothing.
Well, let me ask you this. I'll put you on the spot a little bit. Who are some creators that you trust with information, current information?
Okay. Yourself, obviously, I wouldn't be on your show. Even though you're a pain in the ass.
Yes.
I'm a Jeff Nadeau fan. You know that.
Yeah.
I like Mikey Scars a lot. I think he brings a lot to the table. So does Sammy. But Mikey does as well.
Yeah. Yeah, but
I'm talking about if you're talking about mob guys. Like these guys or not, that at the end of the day, you're gonna get if you're gonna get the truest form of content, you're probably gonna get it from guys who are in the life. And I don't know. I'm trying to think. If I forgot about anybody, it's just too early in the morning here.
Anybody other than Scott that you don't trust right now that you maybe a little.
I didn't say I didn't trust Scott. I think Scott has an agenda with this certain story. That's all.
Got it. And it hits a little close to home.
I even went on his show after the Gunner debacle, and I took it as people make mistakes sometimes.
Yeah. So are you a one and done type guy? Like does Gunner ruin it for you?
No, not at all. You know how many Gunners there are out there? I can name like 10. And you're gonna keep on doing what you do. I feel they had people on your show that I thought were a little suspect. You know what I mean?
Well, I've had
and not only you a lot of other people have done that. But
you mean the mob didn't kill OJ? His wife.
That was, and to be fair to you, you did tell me that you took that with a grain of salt from the beginning of that interview.
I bought the tinfoil hat. Well, one thing I do want to speak to that though, Frank, is that I like to have people with opposing views on. I like to have a debate. I like to have a discussion. I can have no problem having a communist on, which is diametrically opposed to how I operate. But I want to.
Well, you're a journalist. It should be that way. You shouldn't pull punches. I was telling another content creator a while back. He was having second thoughts on having a certain person in there, and I told him, look, when Barbara Walters went freaking and interviewed Gaddafi in Libya, you think she liked him?
Yeah.
Well, I think she did the Ayatollah Khomeini as well. Don't hold me on that.
John Miller, who was a famed mob reporter, actually interviewed Osama bin Laden.
There you go. So you think these people like them? No, but they had to. Their job is to provide the news, the truth, and fair news, and that's what they do. So you can't either you're in this business or you're not.
Correct. Well, Perry Mason is a communist and watches the show. Thank you. I'll throw a little sickle for you later. Just a little known fact that I know Frank knows this. The Communist Party in Italy represents about 1.5% of the population and actually held some seats in parliament. So there is somewhat of a communist.
There always was. In the country, the Westernist country with the most communist presence during communism was Italy.
And you want to, ironically, communism.
Why are we talking about communism? How do we go from this shit to
Perry Mason? Communism formed. You know why? To battle the fascists, believe it or not. And Mussolini.
Well, to take money from the rich.
Oh yeah, that's another reason.
Let's all go equal. And then who becomes the richest people? The communist leader.
Well, look at Vito Genovese showed up with Mussolini's son-in-law, gave him $1 million, and then became an emissary, and then walked back and worked with the American government, and then was diverting, drugs and cigarettes and everything else before he came back. So it's all interesting. All
Yeah,
right.
the hypocrisy level is very high.
Well, all right. So
In the mob.
Well, all right. So let's kind of unpack this a little bit more before we conclude. It'll be a shorter one today. If you just tuned in or if you're hanging out, Frank essentially is calling out Scott Bernstein on his reporting of the Bonannos.
That's it. And I'm not, because I
No
don't
more,
know
no
about
less.
other
Just
stuff
pretty
he
much
talks about.
Yeah. Well,
I just feel that it's a very slippery slope. It's dangerous, and you should have got to be 100% sure when you're writing about.
Well, let me ask you this, and this is important.
And then I got a question for you, but go ahead.
Hold on. One more question because it's an important one, and then you're welcome to ask me anything.
Okay.
And if you're in the chat, if you want to ask Frank any questions as well, respectful questions.
Yeah, I got about.
So you know me. I had him on the show. I am Dr. James Buccellato's biggest fan. I think I have him up there where Anna Sergi, John Dickey, and Antonio Nicasso. Right now,
James is awesome.
But as a co-host, because I used to get a lot of crap as a co-host with my old partner about certain things. Does James have a response? Now, James is not a journalist. He's an academician, so he doesn't need to sit there and fight. But does James have a little bit of responsibility where he has to say, hey, Scott, you know what, let's vet this a little more or put an asterisk on this? Or should he maybe denounce and say, hey, man, this is Scott's opinion, not my own? Does James bear a little responsibility as well, or you have him off the hook?
No, I'm old school. Every man's got to protect themselves. When I went to freaking testify, can we blame it on somebody else? That was my call. I did that, not nobody else. He's not responsible. You're only responsible for yourself. James, that's the way I feel about that. Unless it starts fucking with your money, you know what I mean?
Got it. What about okay, let's
my question is not to you.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, my question to you is: have you heard anything about this stuff?
Okay, so I could only disclose what I've done. When Scott first mentioned it, he mentioned I think something in Glen Cove. He mentioned something where a business owned by Joe C. He mentioned a possible chase. So obviously, my first inclination was to call you. You're kind of my Bonanno guy. You're like, I know nothing about this, nor would you. But I'm just saying, I wanted to bounce the idea off you.
Yeah, we gotta use that term. We gotta use that term loosely. I'm not your Bonanno guy because I don't know what's going on in Bonanno. If you want to say,
you're my legacy.
If you want to go pre 2000, whatever.
Got it.
All right, fine. I'm not owning that though.
Let me reframe it. I have over the last 2 years built a very strong dossier of contacts that are either in law enforcement or former in the life that have better access to information than I do. It's that simple. And the people that I reached out to, not even a whisper. The law enforcement people, the former law enforcement people could find out the best. That's one of my best contacts. He's like, I can't find anything. I made a few phone calls. I couldn't collaborate or corroborate in any way. So I didn't run with it. And that's all I can say. I am not saying Scott is not being truthful, but what I can say is that I couldn't corroborate. That's why I didn't run with it. And you
got good sources?
I broke some stuff in the past. I have some good sources and obviously we never reveal those sources.
So you're saying he's bullshitting then?
I just couldn't corroborate.
All right, I got you. I'm just kidding. I don't want to turn this into something. I'm just saying, I'm just saying he can do whatever he wants, but with all fairness, just be 100% when you put shit out.
Let me ask you.
Look, I listen. I don't want to reach sometime one day that a friend of mine, my family, I don't give a fuck too much about. They screw me the most, matter of fact. But somebody one time I probably cared about gets left in a gutter because it's some stupid article. You understand what I mean?
No, I get it. And,
okay. I still, I might still, they might not have feelings for me, but I might have feelings for a couple of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it comes from a place of actual
concern,
worry. Legitimate, There's a legit. And what about? I don't want to throw anybody in the bus, but there were some content creators that kind of were poking the bear. Oh, the mob would never reach out to me. The mob would never do this. I'll knock on their door. There were a few I
There's a
felt.
lot of them that play that dangerous game. There was a certain friend of mine who's no longer in the life, and I'm not going to mention the content creator was saying, "Well, this guy walks around his neighborhood. There's no problem. He's whistleblowing because he wants to see something he could write about, but yet doesn't even know that he was actually in a kind of like an accessory to a fucking crime without even realizing it. You understand?"
Well, I put a post on my community, and I obviously can't talk about who it was, but one of the videos, I got a text from a former guest, frantic, called me late at night. He's on the West Coast. Called late at night, text me. I'm like, bro, I got kids. I can't really be talking right now. I said, what's up? Because I need you to take them the clips at our main interview. I said, why? He goes, so and so is upset about that I mentioned him, and he showed me some texts and stuff from that so and so's lawyer, or it was a lawyer who was a friend with that alleged gangster, and he in no uncertain terms wrote that shit has to come down. I took it down. I'm not gonna sit there and fucking. I wasn't in any danger, but the guy that I had on ran into some issues with this particular alleged gangster that he brought him up, and
Right.
so it's still out. So I'm not looking to get anybody jammed up. I'm not looking to get anybody hurt. Everybody's like, "Oh, you do shit for clicks and views." If I did, I haven't been on in the last 3 weeks. You know what I mean? And if I did, I would be a lot more sensational and get a lot more clicks and a lot more views. I don't make a lot of money doing this, as you guys know. It's not a big a revenue earner for me. I like doing it. I like building.
Send some donations, guys, so you could have me back on.
There we go. If anybody wants to donate to the show, 100% of the money goes back into the show. We're
Right.
25,000 real subs. And to this day, it's funny. Somebody's like, "Oh, you buy your subs." Like enough. Like no, I don't. Like I don't need to. We do shorts and certain things that generate.
Now, you guys do a lot of work in what you do, and a lot of time. I know you do.
Yeah.
And time is money. I get it. I mean, that's why people donate. People think you could say whatever they want. You're putting out content, and that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? One more. Yeah, and there's other guys. One last thing.
Yeah.
And there's other guys that, like I was saying before, that are in the life. They call their ex buddies scumbags and whatever, and then they try to pin them certain buddies against other buddies out there because they're not longer in the life. Like this guy said he was a scumbag anyway. You know what I mean? Or we were gonna kill this guy one night and stuff. That's an ultimate scumbag move.
Can you share who that is, or you rather keep that under your hat?
No. I'm not here to get on the fucking the Jerry Springer show, if you will.
Got it. Well, what one challenge I have.
But I'm not going to mention it. But if they want to and address that with me, I will.
Got it. Frank at frankfurlino.com. All right. The other thing though is I've interviewed people, and I generally don't do a lot of repeat interviews. I would say out of
like a while back. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I don't want to be lost. I remember one guy calling a guy a rat. But this guy been ratting for 30 years. And just because this guy took his loan shark fucking book away. So he wanted to put the guy out as he wanted to put, there's a, and I'm gonna say a cooperator, a rat, whatever, and he put that out. I mean, that's just scumbaggery at the fucking top notch.
Yeah, well, I mean that's gonna happen. One of my challenges.
It's always gonna happen. You're right.
The JSV link, sponsor the show. Shout out to Jason, doing his courses now automated. Mention MBA and you get a special price. All right. Well, here's my challenge. I've interviewed a few people multiple times. I don't make a practice to do a lot of multiple interviews, but I have done them. And where I found inconsistencies were with Gene Burrell, and I'm not knocking Gene, and he's away. And I told Gene this, and we talked about it, so I'm not saying anything I haven't said to him. Is he did an interview with me in 20, and then did an interview in 2022, and they were different in how we felt about certain people, right? And with that, he painted them in different pictures on the two interviews. And I asked him point blank, why are you characterizing these people differently? Because while I was really upset back then, I was really pissed. So is it fair to say, whether Gene or whoever, are we prone to bias on how we feel when we talk about people, especially coming from the life?
I don't know. I never did that. I don't know. I don't know how it is to do that. I'm not going to shit. I said it time and time again. I personally know why I flipped, but it wasn't because of anybody else, and I'm not gonna blame that on anybody.
Perry makes
People tend to do that all the time. They tend to, oh, well, this guy wasn't doing the right thing by me, or this guy was that, or this guy told me to take the fall. I must have repeated this 100 times, but so I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna talk about anybody in that life.
got it.
At the end of the day, I'm just
Perry
gonna look. It's about living my life now.
Perry brings a good point up. Scott is coming from the perspective of a former prosecutor. FYI, they tend to take facts somewhat liberally. They want to get most out of time, headlines, and conviction. You could argue both ways. Scott's a lawyer by training, and you could argue that way as a former prosecutor, you're going to try to stretch what's out there to get your conviction, or opposite, he's a lawyer and works typically hopefully off of facts, and to be less inclined to lie. So I think you can go either way when you kind of look at the lawyer
I
standpoint.
know we can. I mean, all right, let's get Martin Scorsese to fucking draw a narrative about this. At the end of the day, it's all fucking Hollywood and fantasy.
Now,
Either be a prosecutor or a director.
Now that we have you riled up a little bit, and without saying names, what are some of the stuff that some of the mob creators and even the former wives?
This is, I think, how I flipped. I was pissed one day, and I still regret it. You're not gonna get no more names from me, but go ahead.
Ooh, made $5. Thank you, Mustache Pete, as always. I want to have you on next time because I'd like for you to weigh in. I'm just gonna have Frank on today. We're gonna
Sure. And if anybody has questions for the next episode, let us know.
Thank you, Mustache.
And
Mark,
I'm sorry if I'm a little edgy, but this shit's been pissing me off a little bit.
Well,
and going to work in a couple of hours is pissing me off too. So.
Well, I mean, how do you justify, if you're Scott, right? Like, how does he get proven wrong, or how does he get proven right, in your opinion?
It's a double-edged sword. It's like one of those things like you can't even prove because what's he gonna say? I'm gonna bring this guy on, and he's gonna say the guy's too scared or he wants to be anonymous. And when you're anonymous, you gotta go 50-50, right? But I don't even think it's 50-50. I think it's more like, I'll give him the benefit of that 10-90.
I don't know if this is going to reach out. I didn't get to reach out to Scott for comment. I probably should have. I may. But let's just say Scott's like, hey, I would like to debate. Or
I get Scott. Scott's a mob aficionado. There's a lot of people like that out there. And he wrote books. I can't call him out on stuff about Detroit because I don't know anything about Detroit.
Hold on. Let's just say hypothetically, he would like to have a spirited discussion with you on this, possibly on this show. Would you be open to that, or you just want to, say your piece and leave?
I don't want to make this a spectacle, but at the same time, I don't want people to think I'm freaking stepping down from this beef, because I'm not that person. You ask anybody. And when I do talk, it's usually because I'm trying to make sense. I will make sense. So if I'm not, I just won't say anything. You understand?
DP, I'm just sharing what he says. As you know, I have an open forum. I don't think I even have moderators, to be honest. Frank, no offense, but you're no longer part of the life. Bernstein has much right to talk about that SCHIT as you do at this point. It's weird how ex-guys like to police all the info they hear.
Nah, DP, this is not about policing. And with all due respect to your opinion, this is about, and I don't want to, you're right, I don't want to be in that life anymore. It's not about that. But something that I have over Scott is that I was around certain people, and I was in that life 20 years ago. And I kind of might think that what's going on is not the narrative he's given. I'm not saying I'm an authority on it. Actually, I'm telling you I'm not.
Yeah. Well, I think as content creators, we do bear a certain level of responsibility.
But listen, this is the same guy. I was on a show one time, and he just, he's always interrupted, and he goes, well, Carmine Galante, why they called him Lilo is because he smoked cigarillos. No. Like, so I knew he read that somewhere, so did I. No, They called him Lilo because it's short for Camilo.
Correct.
It's Sicilian. Camilo Lilo. Get it?
Correct.
All right, but hey, he took his 2 minutes. That was fine.
Well, let me ask you this: in this environment of fake news, now, one of the principles we operate as podcasters.
I'm not accusing of. I'm just saying that there's a lot more. I I want to use the right approach.
Okay.
I think he's going with this way. He's making this his baby in more ways than one.
Oh, he's definitely leading the charge on this narrative, 100%. 100%.
All right.
Well, okay. So what about? Okay, so you can't disclose your sources because otherwise you'll lose your credibility. There's certain liability sometimes with that as well. But what if he maybe peeled back the curtain a little bit and shared how he got the information?
Yeah, that's fine. That's good. Yeah, okay.
Andre.
So he's gonna put out the guy who gave him the information.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't think there is a guy, but yeah, okay.
So this, I'm on with, for those people checking in or watching this on the rerun, or people on Mobsters Inc. I know Frank was on there once. It's Frank Friedolino, ex associate of the Bonanno family, now is a private citizen. Now, we wanted to chat a little bit. He wanted to talk a little bit about Scott Bernstein, and that's what we're chatting about today. Everett, great to see you. Yeah, I'm going to try to start doing more lives. I've been a little busy. I'm also recovering from surgery. I had an elective surgery. I'm fine. It's an elective one. I'm hobbling right now, but I'm trying to get better. So Bernstein's recovered the bananas drama on his channel. Yeah. So the crust of this, or the foundation of this, is he first reported about the Bonanno thing. He actually had Panisi on. I thought it was a fantastic episode. But then reported that there might have been some possible retaliation, and then doubled down. So I don't know.
What if that's it for the disclosure says Sammy the Bull is the GOAT? What, biggest rat of all time? Yeah, greatest.
Hey, Frank, you need your own show. Tom will help out. Frank, I think we should have our own show. We should do it. Hey, Danny Stories. How are you, buddy? Great to see you. My Portuguese buddy. Hopefully you're doing well. Hey, Soretti, how are you, buddy?
That's such a fucking oxymoron. I am fucking putting rats out there like the greatest of all.
Oh, this is a good question. What is
What's
your family? What is your family? How do they view Silvio Berlusconi back in the day? They probably liked him because he was crooked.
Capitalist. He owned Milan. Probably not liked him because we're Inter fans.
Nicosia Connection. Whoa. Welcome back. I hope that's really you. Email me, Tom and Do Theory. We'd love to hear from you, but hopefully you're doing well. My Merc, I think you got in at Merc too, and Exxon, way up, both of them. So if you got those two positions like you did back then, lunch on you because you made some money. The guy in Texas is always putting false information out there too, as he did again yesterday. Maybe Lee's talking about. Yeah, I'm not going to comment on. I personally am not going to comment on other creators.
Believe it or not,
I'm actually sticking up for Bernstein on this one because I believe we can screw up. He might be overreaching a little bit on this one, but I'm a big body of work.
Wait. You're sticking up and what's and okay, if he comes up with the sources, how about if he don't come up with the sources?
Well, it's tricky because your source is your lifeblood, right? You could ask Jeff to do,
right.
RJ Roger, anybody who kind of I consider like colleagues, if you will. And the sources of what, don't get me wrong. Any of us can read Wikipedia. Any of us could report. Any of us could put on a little jacket and talk. And any of us could read, right? But what gives the edge of one over the other is the sources. So generally, you don't want to give them up. So I guess, I don't know, maybe you could have somebody on who's willing to, like I've had people on where they'll change their voice.
Yeah, like Rado Rivera back in the day. They'll bring a guy with a beard and glasses, right?
Exactly. Leonetti.
Is that what they're going to do?
We'll do
Come on, man.
Leonetti with the wig. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Leonetti with the wig. Yeah, sure.
That's one of my favorite.
God.
I've heard it all. I'm going to ask you a crazy question. Who is your favorite informant of all time, and who's your least favorite informant? Who's your least favorite? Who do you absolutely abhor? Who do you hate?
That's a good question. Fuck. Probably Henry Hill.
Why?
Just fucking irritated me every time I seen him.
Got it.
I didn't find him truthful either.
Well, let me ask you this. So my Sammy interview is
You got to remember, Henry Hill came at a time where there was not many informants, so he was like their
yeah.
poster boy.
Um, my change gears a little bit. My Sammy interview was the number one interview I've done. Right, it did a little north of 200,000 views. I took a little bit of a different angle. People know I care about the business end of things. I look at it like he was, if you remind us some morality out of it. Again, I may not agree with it, but I could still interview him, right? I found his interview beneficial. I learned a lot from it from a business perspective. But you seem sometimes not to trust Sammy as much. Give me kind of what your thoughts on Sammy's stories, what he's doing, and then what do you think recently as he's kind of doing these lives and stuff?
I think, look, I think Sam and Sid is about me too. We know each other. He could say I'm a pain in the ass, and I could say he's a pain in the ass, or whatever. But one thing he's not, and believe me when I tell you, and you know when somebody tells you a story 3, 4 fucking times because they just either they're pissed or whatever, they never get it wrong.
Correct.
And you know, and he never used to get it wrong. His stories were always exact dates. I remember I think it was I have a good memory. The December 12 fucking stories, whatever. He just, if people are looking for him as a liar, I didn't find that. I didn't find that at all. I didn't find him to be a bullshit artist at all.
Okay, let me ask you this: where do you think he's just like 100% bullshitting on? What story or what narrative or what? Because
if I were him, I sound like OJ. If I did this, if I were him, nothing. I mean, you make that deal with the freaking feds. Is there things people forget about sometimes? Yeah, but of course I didn't. But I don't know. I mean,
all right. Let me ask.
I don't
you
know. It's I don't want to get.
Let me
I don't want to get into this, but I'll tell you what.
I do. I do. I got a question to ask you.
Wait, this is to his defense. Hold on. This is to his defense. If he was gonna lie about any murder, right? You ready for this?
Yeah.
It was gonna be the one of his brother-in-law, because his in-laws never talked to him at a vulnerable time where he needed them. Yeah. After he flipped, he didn't know how his wife was gonna take it. You know, it's her brother. And so if he was going to lie about any murder, it would have been that one.
Got it. Before we get back to Sammy for a second, out of courtesy to my man, Fistful of Trumpism, what do you think of Meloni, the new prime minister in Italy? And then we'll go back to Sammy.
I don't know. I haven't given much thought, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Talking about the broad.
You saw her rant?
Huh?
You saw her rant, though? When she got elected?
I didn't. I haven't been following. That's what I'm saying. So it'd be like I'd be given a false narrative. The topic of today's
that'd be a nice guest to have on.
Yeah.
The president, his brother got killed by the mob.
The president's my paisan from my town.
Yeah, his brother got killed.
Our families know each other for 100 years.
Really?
Well, yeah. When you come from a town for 14,000. And his father used to be half a gangster.
He's from Castellamare del Golfo?
100%.
Oh, shit. Well, they killed his father.
His dad is Bernardo Mattarella, which it was like...
It was a very powerful
an undercover mobster back then.
Correct. Why they kill him specifically?
His brother?
Yeah.
His brother was part of the old rule, the Badalamenti
pocket. Right, he was a cop and a politician, right?
He was regarded the governor of Sicily.
Correct, but was he a little crooked, or was he legit?
Crooked. They all were crooked, except this other one went. Once they killed his brother, he was like, you're trying to lay down with these people, but at the same time, they're gonna kill your family. So he kind of went on the anti-mob ticket.
Got it. Well, Berlusconi's old business partner was in politics, and he was one of the guys that said, have the old line, the mafia doesn't exist. So what happened was that he told the line for Forza Italia that the mob doesn't exist. And then later on did 8 years for Mafia Association. So anyway, that's Italian politics. You can't make that up.
Yeah, I know. We're boring these people over here.
Oh, no. We got an intelligent group. They like to hear this stuff. So, all right. Now, give us what your opinion is. Okay, so I've interviewed, Sammy. I'm friends with his daughter, and what he's saying is the reason why he rolled was because Gotti was saying, "Hey, I want you to take the weight." Okay, now according to Judge Gleason, who I interviewed and spoke with, said that the reason why Sammy flipped was because he felt Gotti was going to kill him. Which of those two versions do you believe?
I don't know, man. Listen. I know why I flipped. Is that cool?
I want your opinion, man. I trust your opinion. You know, a
I
lot
don't
of
want
shit.
to. I don't want to stir up any fucking bullshit with anybody. My opinion. I don't. Okay. What I would do if somebody came up to me and said, "I want you to take the pinch and go on a stand and you say everything was a lie." What something to that they wanted them to go that route, whatever. That's what I understood anyway. Um, I don't think anybody would ask me that.
But the mentality. The guy was an underboss. Listened to the tapes, knew his goose was cooked, found a way out. But there
Right,
obviously had been a reason for it, or at least a stated reason. I don't think Judge Gleason has. I don't think he would lie when he said,
right.
"Hey, Sammy came to me, said,
Yeah,
Gotti."
Judge Gleason claims that John wanted to kill Sammy. Yeah, I think there's some truth to that.
So why wouldn't Sammy, when he does his podcast, why wouldn't he just say that? In your opinion?
I don't know. I'm not Sammy. I don't know what goes through Sammy's head.
Yeah.
I mean, and you got to remember, Sammy was such a higher level of the mob than I ever was. So I mean, who the fuck knows what went? You understand
Yeah.
what he want? I don't know.
Let me just see. Basta. I'm jumping off.
Who's
Danny
that? Who's the Basta guy?
Muggs. I don't know Muggs well, but I know he was in the
Yeah,
chat in
Muggs.
the past.
Muggs, good dude. Who's over? Yeah, everybody out there. Um, I see a lot of people out there. They're pretty cool people.
Be good, Danny. Let me just see. Tried to do something yesterday. British fella got turned down
How
flat.
many people you got on your chat?
Well, total's 75. I don't
Not
do big live numbers. I get people always like, you don't do. Listen, you know what? If I do 75, I do 300, I do 20. Where I get the views is on the reruns.
right.
So
I mean, for the spur of the moment, it ain't bad. But yeah, just
yeah.
pick out a date. Let the people know that are listening right now. Let's go for what's today?
Today is the 22nd.
All right, it's
Email me.
Wednesday.
Drop your comments in the chat or email me Tom New Theory. Frank and I are kind of toying around an idea of maybe doing like a 3 or 4 part series where I'd have them on with like kind of focused. Today was just on the fly, but maybe focused content, and we're kind of thinking of doing that. If you think it's beneficial, drop your comments below on what you think of Frank and me maybe hooking up on that. And I'd love to see what you guys think. Was there a Cuban Spanish? And well, there was a guy out of this Frank. The guy was Spanish. Fernandez allegedly Rizzuto made him, and then when he got expelled
Out.
from Canada, was in Sicily, and he wound up getting killed. I
Oh,
don't.
okay.
I think. Have you ever heard of this, where like a boss makes somebody, but it's more like they make them, but they're really not made. Like I think like Rizzuto like gave him a bullshit ceremony, said he was made, but like he really wasn't. You know what I mean? He had the authority to do it, but couldn't do it because he was Spanish. What do you think about? You know that story, right? You know what I'm talking
No,
about?
I don't. No, I don't. I don't. But it sounds like something that would take place out in somewhere like in San Jose mob. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Where they
yeah.
make where they make some guy with a half-ass Italian last name.
Well, there was a guy that wanted to get straightened out at a Buffalo, and he was kind of linked in with either the Calabrians or the Toronto mob, and they made him out of L.A. And I think it was as a courtesy. Tommy Gambino made him as a courtesy to whatever reason, right? And they wound up killing him. And supposedly they killed him because he got made from another family, and that's out of L.A. I don't
Yeah,
know the
yeah,
name.
yeah, 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 yeah. I remember the story. Actually, that's if you want to get back to Sammy the Bull. That's one story he told me years ago about when they went to get the guy who was made in two different fucking places, and they went to somewhere with the zips, and they end up killing the guy. And one guy kicked him, and Sammy pulled him away and said, "What the fuck? This guy didn't do nothing wrong. He just, with technicality, got him killed."
Well, they said that was the excuse for getting rid of one of the Inzarillas. I don't know if you know that, which is full of shit.
I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know, but I
Well,
did hear that story.
I'd point to Rosario Naimo. He was Rena's guy in the U.S. Rena did not have a big presence here in the U.S., but he did have him over here. And Lucchese's wound up making him. Of all the families, I was knocked. I fell over when I heard he was made with Lucchese's just for protection purposes. He could have been
You
made.
didn't fall over, did you? Was it that much? Come on, man.
No, I mean, why?
I'm just
Okay,
fucking with you.
I have
I'm playing. I'm playing.
my least Sicilian Cosa Nostra families, from least Sicilian to most. It goes Colombo and then Lucchese. So the fact that they made a Sicilian back then, I like just to piece that together, because they would obviously, Rena would have to broker it. And I think Tony, now this is pretty recent. Probably Tony Ducks.
No fly zone Rican. No fly zone Rican says there were many Spanish associates. Just ask Frank. Sí, seguro. Mucho español hay gente. Sí.
Love it. We should do a show in Spanish. Would love it.
No, he's right around, especially around my parts of the woods. A lot of I'm not gonna mention ex-family stuff, whatever. They
and his brother was called, Carlos. That's right. Johnny Bravo, his name was. Johnny Bravo was his nickname. I don't think he got made. And then also, what the fuck was he doing in Sicily? I think he was Spaniard. I guess maybe he felt he was okay because he was a Amico Nostra, but that didn't go over too well. So I had guys, just as an app practice, I'm clicking through. If I click like some stuff from the Mob Tube drama, forgive me, I don't acknowledge it. I'm not into that. Frank and I, even though we have our own drama of Bernstein's situation, the Mob Tube creator stuff, I as a policy don't stay away from. And I know Frank tries to as well.
I do. And to be fair to that guy before saying that I no longer in that life, he's right. I'm not.
What
it's not like it's not like I come in and say in mob news today. No, I don't.
Yeah. Well, I have a working theory since I have you on I think it was Spanish, Don Vito. I have a working theory. So because American Cosa Nostra is not like what it was, I think the Ndrangheta is putting in cells, already has cells here and are moving in, not conferring with the five families, doing their own thing, not bumping into them, staying in their own lane, getting the stuff from Canada and other places, and getting into the drug game. What do you think about that? Just my opinion. What are your thoughts?
Again, another topic I can't speak. I don't know nothing about. What I've been hearing about the Calabrian mob is that they're getting stronger and stronger. But that I hear that from like shows and TV and newspapers. I don't know firsthand.
What do you think, though?
Very good sources, I guess, as far as coming from Italy. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this: the Cosa Nostra, up until the '90s, was the premier criminal group in the world, right? And now it's believed that the Cosa Nostra goes to the Ndrangheta to get their coke, to get their heroin, which is crazy. You could agree with that, and kind of taking a backseat to the Calabrians. What's your kind of thought on that?
I don't know much about it, Tom. I just I'll be fueling people's I don't know.
No, but you have an opinion, a thought, discussion.
I never came across Calabrians. How about that? I did. There was like 10 or 20 of them in my old neighborhood that worked in construction. That's about it. They weren't mob related. I just don't know.
Well, Totorina had a guy from La Santa, high up from the Calabrian mob, in his wedding. Rena had very high Calabrian.
Yeah, in Italy, I personally, I'm saying as what I know, what I personally know, I just don't know.
Got it.
It's a subject I don't want. It says Jimmy Pocket said Frank talks about Mob 2 drama on other shows. I have fun with that. I don't talk about the mob on other shows. I just like to laugh. Like I have a good time. There's people that see me on those other shows. It's a fun time. That's all that is.
Yeah. Don
I don't
Vito's
talk.
right. There was a bus, I think 15, 16 pizzeria. They were moving a ton of weight, but they were moving some coke. They were hooked up with the Indragada, and some people got pinched on both sides to show that there was a connection from the Genovese with the Indragada. Of the families, and this is just my understanding, of the 5 families, the one that have the biggest connection with Indragada is actually the Gambinos. But again, I can't prove that, and just information that I was told.
Yeah, it's not. It's something I don't know. I don't know nothing about.
I'm working on, and these are for the mobologists in the back. I'll get excited about this one. I'm working on getting John Dickey on. That's like a biggie. That's like I'll that's a biggie. I'm working on getting him on. I want to see his standpoint. Let me ask you kind of a different question, okay? Forget about Italy for a second, right?
All right.
Italian Cosa Nostra and Dragata prospered in Germany, Luxembourg, Canada, Australia, but not in the U.S. Give me why you think. And Dragata took me about 5 years to learn how to say it. Why do you
That's
think?
why I've got. Yeah, me too. That's why I'm saying the Calabrian.
Yeah, Dragata. So, why do you think that the Italian organized crime outside of Italy in certain countries prospered versus Italian organized crime in the U.S. just was on the decline? Similar culture, similar operation, similar structure. Why do you think?
The cops. The cops are fucking strong here.
But it's also the biggest market, though, with the biggest potential.
And it also gives you the best years too, dinosaur years.
Nicosia, I want to get you down a rabbit hole because I know that he's a good thinker, and I want to do a show on this. So the Camorra, which has been on the rise for years, and it's not a street gang. Raffaele Imperiali was hanging out in Dubai, as well as his number 2, Bruno Carbone, when they pretty much kidnapped Imperiali because there's no extradition and brought him to Italy. He flipped, which is interesting. To be honest, that's a bigger flip than even Sammy the Bull. The guy had a Van Gogh valued at about $150 million. His counterpart, Bruno Carbone, was trying to cross the Syrian border. And the Syrian border, is very tribal, and it's controlled by ISIS and also the Syrian government with direct ties to the MDMA distribution, as well as obviously terrorism and ISIS, right? Because they're the ones, that's how they make their money.
Right.
ISIS, right? Bruno Carbone was being protected by essentially ISIS and Syrian government measures. What do you think about the Camorra actually being in bed with ISIS and known terrorists? What's your thoughts on that?
We've been in bed with Islamic fanatic for since the 50s. Okay, at one time the heroin route used to go through Syria, which now at one time was ISIS territory.
Well, the Mujahideen, that's where Badalamenti got his drugs from, right?
Well, even before that, I'm talking about the 60s. The French Connection case,
Yeah,
came through eastern Turkey into Syria, all the way to Lebanon, Beirut, and then all the way to France. Okay, so
yeah.
that they've been going in bed together for forever.
Yeah, but here's where it gets interesting, though. There
What
was
was that ISIS city, the one that in Syria that was, the one that was popular on the news all the time when they were chopping people's heads off? What was that?
I know what you're talking about.
Remember that one politician didn't know where it was?
Is it the capital?
It's not the capital. God. If anybody out there could help me out, I'm brain fart right
Not
now.
Damascus, right? Because that's the capital.
No, Damascus is Syria. No, was it Damascus?
That's Syria, yeah.
I
You
forgot.
got me, man. You got me.
It was
Damascus.
it was the stronghold of ISIS. It was that town, that city. Aleppo. There you go. Thank you, Andy. Aleppo. That was, they had more morphine houses in Aleppo in the 60s. That's where they used to process this stuff. They used to get the stuff raw from Turkey and go to Aleppo, and then there was all these houses, houses where they used
Okay,
to.
well,
I said morphine. I mean, they used to
let me ask you
convert.
this, because you reported on this. You can't pull the I don't know. You reported on this on the National Geographic. Badalamenti got his drugs from the Mujahideen, essentially, correct?
To a they're not. I'm not gonna go about this because listen, but that was always speculated. That's where it was coming from through the hands of the CIA, though.
Correct. I call that. Not that I'm anything. It's obvious.
That was always up there.
A
Hey, look,
CIA broker.
look.
Hold on. And I'm going to give you my conspiracy. Go.
Listen, the Attorney General. We had that Edwin Meese on that show. He said, and he kind of got perturbed at the question. So he answers the question. He goes, "Well, did we use Vito Genovese in the 50s to make deals to fight the unnecessary evil?" Talking about the communists. Yeah, right. Sure, we sure did. So were we going to bed with the Mujahideen to fight the communists back then? We sure were.
Oh, we gave them arms. We gave them military training. And I think personally the CIA brokered them with money by saying the Sicilian mafia needs some heroin. Here you go. And now they have the Sicilian mafia heroin money. You have the arms from the U.S. and you have the training from the U.S. to drive out the Russians. Then once they drive out the Russians, what do? They turn around and put those weapons back on us. So here's what I
figured it out. No, I'm just saying. Listen, by the way, anybody out there, I was 9 years old while it was going on.
Yeah, but here's what I think, and I want to hear comments below.
And a shout out to Southie. He's on the chat as well.
But I want my guys in the chat to give their opinion as well. When the arms went back,
what's up, buddy?
Hold on. When the arms went back and the Mujahideen kind of screwed us, right? They turned around and said, "Let's hit him in the pocket." What do? Call the DOJ, shut down the Pizza Connection pipeline. Because by shutting down the Pizza Connection pipeline, they lose about $200 million a year in revenue. So as part of like shutting them down, let's shut down their buyers, which was the Sicilian Mafia here in the U.S. I think the CIA brought them up, and I think the CIA brought them down. Let me know what you guys think. That's just my opinion. I feel pretty strongly about that. Can't prove it, but I think.
And shout out to Carlos El Gringo Munez, who we agree to disagree. Good dude, good guy. Anyhow, but that's where we're at.
All right, let's see. Oh, hey, so Flo, how are you, man? I haven't seen you in a while. Hopefully you're doing well. Thanks for checking out. Guys, just so you know, this is an open chat and it's open to all. We have very few moderators. Tony's been good to me. I was on his show early, and he's been on my show. I think on a live that one time with the Cigar Guys. Tony, welcome, and thanks for hanging out. We're not dropping links today. It's a closed show in this sense, but I will do a live soon. We'll have an open forum where people can come and we can chop it up. Sorry, Frank, go ahead.
Mikey Suit said, tell Frank rats are living openly. They don't do violence anymore. Okay, Mikey, go up to my own neighborhood with an oak tag piece of paper says I support rats. See how that works for you.
Well, let me ask you this though, okay? And let's just say sake of
argument. And thanks for the support, by the way, Mikey. But no thank you.
Let me ask you this. So you're an informant, right? And you ratted on the New York mob. Why move back to those neighborhoods? Isn't that like even more disrespectful to me? I would take my ball and go.
Yes, absolutely. Why that's offensive. Why would you go back and show people that, I could walk anywhere I want when you don't belong in that place anymore. You know what I mean? It's disrespectful. Just go on. Go do what you got to do. Mind your business. You did what you did, Jason. You know what I mean? Now there's people who come from I have a friend of mine lives still in his neighborhood, and I'm not knocking him at all. He's like my buddy. But is he in danger? Yeah, sure. Probably is in danger, but at the same time, he lives in a different area than where I grew up, and I'm not saying it's tough. It's just it has more volume. You understand what I mean?
Yeah. So there's a greater chance for things
Well,
happening.
there's more people that are, yeah, of course.
Sorry. Um, yeah, I think that I agree. I think why poke the bear? Well, let me ask you this: why don't they retaliate? Is it because stiffer sentence on informants? Like God forbid you were to be accosted in any way versus me. I'm
See,
assuming.
that's the narrative that's being said that I don't like. Why don't they do that? Why don't they do this? It's like you people want some people to do something so you have something to write about. It could happen. It could very much happen. Don't. There's people out there that will and can get you. If it don't happen, it's because they don't want to eat. It's not because they're afraid.
What about But it's true though. Versus if I go for a walk and get bopped on the head, versus you go to walk your dog and you get bopped on the head, the punishment is greater for the person who bops you on the head versus me. Is that fair to say?
But anybody who squashed the grape as far as violence wise in the 90s will tell you that the feds, for the most part, don't come after you until there's violence involved. I'm not talking about murder. I'm talking about even bopping the head.
Yeah.
But that didn't stop a lot of people back then. The only problem that people are hip to is like you get 5 guys, they go out. There's always going to be that one guy's going to flip up 5, and then one will going to bring the other guy in. That's what it's about. It's not about a balls issue.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Were you ever ratted on?
Me?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. I was the last one to get fucking locked up. I think 10 people ratted on me.
So you were 6 days before trial.
Yes.
Did you know how many people were lined up against you?
5.
Of the 5, how many were you considered an actual
smoking guns?
No. Of the 5, how many considered, wow, this is my boy, this is my compadre?
None of them. I wasn't. No, I didn't like these people that were telling on me.
Did they have of the 5? Did they have the goods on you?
Yeah. At one point they did. At one point they did not, and that's when I knew my case was getting stronger. When they put out motive, they give you information a little bit at a time. When the motive was drug distribution and rob to my bigger crime, and that's what happened.
Okay, so it's fair, and we talked about this, but if you don't mind, I'd like to ask again: is you were 6 days before, right? You're sitting in the pen. How did you feel about your trial before you decided to cooperate?
In the beginning, I felt like there wasn't a lot, but then at one time, one of my accomplices was nowhere to be found. We were supposed to go half on my lawyer fees, and he disappeared. And true to fact, he ended up wearing a wire later on higher ups in the Bonanno family.
So you're 6 days in, right?
Yeah.
Give me that inflection point where you said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna talk."
I'm sorry?
Give me that inflection.
Yeah, it was a spur of the moment. You see, I kind of have a little temper at one time. Looking back, I think that's what happened. I got caught off, and I was like pissed at a lot of people. But that's not their fault. That's my fault. They didn't open their mouth. I did, and that's it. And I can't take that back.
But I'm saying though, like you woke up in the morning and said, "You know what? Go." Like, do you call your lawyer? Like, what was that final straw that broke the camel's back, and what did it for you?
Nah, it was looking at that point that they had the goods on me, and I was ready to fuck, and I was getting. I don't want to say no. I desperation. It was a spur of the moment. Blood pressure was high. Fucking just pissed off, and that's it. If they would have caught me in another day, we wouldn't probably ever met.
Good point. Now looking back, and this has been a lot of time. Do you regret it?
I don't regret being out of the life. Anybody's gonna regret fucking not wanting, being hated by his ex friends. Yeah, I would think, right?
Yeah.
I mean, these are people that I played soccer with, people that I played baseball with, I grew up with. Yeah. I regret that. I regret that I killed those friendships. I regret that I don't talk to my family no more.
What about What about
Do I regret ever fucking wanting to be in an asshole and being in the mob? Yeah.
well, let me ask you this though. There seems to be some type of, and I don't want to paint, and I know like people
Listen,
like
when I read in the paper that a friend of mine got in trouble or something like that, what do you think? I jump for joy and go, yeah, good. No, I feel bad for him.
Do you think there's a playbook for informants? Inform, find God, repent, YouTube. Like, give me kind of like, are you seeing a
I'm not a
pattern?
religious guy. I don't get that.
I
I think
don't
people.
know. The thing I
No,
like.
I get it. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. There's a playbook. Yeah, a lot of people want playbooks. They want to go and you sound silly when you say that life ain't for you when you were doing that life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just to me, when it comes down to that, just don't say anything. If you want to be a better person, be a better person. I'll give you an example, and then I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
My mom, for example, she didn't like me talking to cops, but she didn't like me fucking going robbing people either. You know what I mean?
Well, that's
She just wanted me to go straight in the arrow.
That's at a
And
time.
that's what I'm saying. I wish I just would have listened to that advice, and I didn't.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta go.
All right. Thanks, Frank. Thanks for being on.
All right.
We'll hang out a minute
Gotcha.
or two.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Have a good day. Have a blessed day.
Thank you. So, good show today. I am back. My absence, I had a surgery, elective surgery. I'm getting better. That was part of it. Kids' commitments, work commitments, and so forth. But I am going to be back. Drop your comments below. Should I do more lives? Should I do interviews live? Anybody you want me to interview? Just let me know. Email me, Tom at New Theory. I'm going to revamp in the show. I'm working on getting some pretty big guests on. I'm working on getting some pretty big guests back on, and kind of give you the content that you are accustomed to. I think there has been some fighting in the chat. As people know, I don't really have moderators, and let you guys do your thing. I haven't seen Donald in a while, so good to see you, Donald. I am going to block the CHOMO. I just don't like that word being used. So I'm being used in my chat. I think that's a word that's being thrown around way too often. And in a sense, when you do that, it almost normalizes that disgusting behavior. So I do have some limits on my free speech that I'm willing to absorb. So again, just a shout out to our show sponsor, JSV Capital. Here we go. He offering a new course. Check it out at jsvcapital.com and tell Jason I sent you, and he take his new online course. Donald, thank you. $4.99. I really appreciate it. Hi, Tony and Tom. I'm gonna guess that the hi Tony was in jest, but Donald, thank you for the $4.99. You've always been critical of me at times, but you've also been supportive. I have no problem with criticism. I think it makes us get better. Bob, who's Bob? Oh, come on. Donald, no families and stuff. I personally like Tina. Nice clobbering woman. But no families on that. And don't super chat to get your way in that. That's not nice. And I don't even know, is that SoFlo's account too? I don't know. Tony, if you want to text me to make sure that's you. But everybody's welcome here. And if you guys want to duke it out in the chat, you guys can. I don't know what you guys get from it. But you guys are welcome to do that. I do keep an open forum. So all I'll ask is if you're watching this on the rerun, please share your thoughts on what guests I should have. Should I do lives? Do you like more pre-records? And I really want to make this show about you guys. And I really want to come back strong. We're approaching 25,000 subs on the channel. I do believe I'll have Frank back. I want to maybe do like a little mini series with him. And for now, I'd like to thank you, Finch Bar. Appreciate it. I haven't been to Toronto yet. I've always wanted to go. And I do appreciate everybody. For you guys arguing in the chats, Please argue in the chats all you want, but just try to be respectful. Try to keep family out of it. And until then, I'll see you.